My 60-gallon DeWalt air compressor is going to go mobile on this. Well, short of mobile. Talk about it, show you what I'm doing, coming up. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop. But what I'm going to do here is put my DeWalt upright 60-gallon air compressor on this platform here, and I don't need the sander sitting on it, I just sanded this. I'm going to set it on this platform so that I can roll it in and out of our furnace room here in the shop. And okay, that sounds a little odd. Let me backtrack a little bit. I bought this compressor about a year ago to replace a very old, worn out Sears Craftsman from the 1970s. And I'm very pleased with it, but it takes up a lot of space in the shop. And as if you've seen my previous videos, and as you can see behind me, things are very crowded. And I have to have pretty much everything on wheels so I can move things from place to place. Even though this is a large building, pretty much 2/3 of it is dedicated to our e-commerce business and shipping. And we need all that space over there, plus my forklift storage in the third bay. Storage for cartons, I just don't have room to expand my shop anymore that direction. It's all pretty much got to be right here. However, the furnace room sits right in the center bay, and it's at the end. In that furnace room, of course, is a furnace, it's a water heater, some other mechanicals, a booster pump, irrigation for greenhouses, that type of thing. As an experiment, I rolled the compressor that's sitting on actually on a shipping dolly, still on the shipping pallet, into that room to see how it would fit. This is how it looks. Okay, so here it is, wheeled into the closet. And as I mentioned, this is where the furnace is, and there's a door here, the bifold door. And this does fit in there. And right now, it's still setting on the pallet that it came on. And then it is setting on a dolly that we use normally with UPS shipments, but haven't been able to use this one because the compressor's been sitting on it. Hence making the new platform for it, but this is where the compressor is going to live, and I will have full access to everything to be able to turn it on and off. I may even add a remote where you see the hoses off to the side. That side over there is actually open, and I can just reach in there and grab my hose and it won't be in the way. And it'll take up a whole lot less floor space because this used to come way out here on the floor. We had to walk around it, so I think this would be a good solution. So as you can see, it does fit. The shipping dolly that it's setting on is obviously too large for the room and doesn't need to be that big. And the shipping pallet, okay, I could have maybe cut that down a little bit and put some wheels on it, but decided I wanted to build something with a hard surface on it right here. And I'll give you a little bit of details on this. Okay, what this is a 2x4 frame that's reinforced with an extra 2x on each side to be able to mount these 4-inch casters. Casters are locking. All 4 are swivel, so I could turn this thing around any way I want. Maybe I could start a magic act. Well, maybe not. The frame here again is made out of 2x4s. What I have on top are some actually old deck board scraps from a deck that I had inherited and disassembled a while back, and had used the boards for various different things. I had a couple of short ones, so good application for them. What I'll be doing is using the bolts that are currently holding the compressor down to that shipping pallet to bolt it down to this. This thing is 22 inches square. My door opening is 30, so this will work out perfect. Do I need to paint this? No, but I'm gonna. Probably just because. Okay, zoomed way out here so you can kind of see the status of how messy this shop is. And that's because there's so many things going on, and these guys that have these videos up of their shop and everything's pristine and there's no dust and everything's shiny and polished and organized. That's not this place. Especially where there's flat surfaces where I can lay stuff. But I zoomed out so you could kind of see in this picture. If you look over here in the corner, you had to walk around it all the time, and in that bay, that's our main shipping bay from where we ship from, and it was just a big nuisance. Another thing is my wife assists out here when we ship, and we have little downtimes when I'm out getting things or maybe assembling cartons or something like that. She has a chair that she sits in, and that chair was sitting in front of the air compressor, so then it was even farther out. So prior to getting that air compressor, she used to sit on her chair in front of that door and was out of the way, and the chair wasn't in the way. But so this will alleviate that problem, I hope. So getting back a little bit on the history of the air compressor, I toyed around quite a bit with what exactly I was going to do with it, where I was going to put it, before we came up with this idea of putting it in the closet. Maybe then when I need to work on the furnace or whatever, I can just roll it out and the air compressor will come out of the closet. Yep, bad joke. This way I do not need to build an outdoor enclosure. That was my original plan, was to put it outdoors and build a building for it, but it gets very, very cold here in the winter, and I was concerned about not only the oil getting, you know, too thick and being hard to start when it's like below zero, but you know, I do drain the tank all the time. And incidentally, something else I'm going to be doing is putting a remote drain on the bottom of the tank with an extension out, so I don't have to reach way up underneath there to drain it. But I was worried about, you know, ice forming in there, ice forming in the lines. I do have water extractors on there. I would have to remember to empty them all the time in the winter because it would be below freezing out there. I don't want the bowls to get broke or the lines to get broke or any of that kind of stuff. So keeping it inside here where it is heated all winter, not air conditioned, not in the summer, it gets hot in here, it will take care of that problem. I won't have to worry about that, and it'll be out of the way. And the furnace and everything, water heater, pumps, everything else that's back in that closet will still be readily accessible. So how am I going to do this? How am I going to get that air compressor, which is extremely heavy with that tank, off of the pallet and onto this? There are advantages to owning a forklift, and I happen to have one. It's a 1950 tow motor. I've never had it in any of my videos, but you're going to see it in this one, because I'm going to use that to lift the compressor up by the compressor above the pallet. I'll move the forks close together, and you'll see this here shortly. I'll move the forks close together, strap it to the mast, because I don't want this thing tipping or falling over or anything. That would be a disaster. Strap it to the mast with a strap, of course. Then take the bolts out that are holding it to the pallet. Roll this underneath. Let it down on here. And bolt it down to this using the same bolts that I took out of the pallet. Recycling even. So we're going to get on with that here in a little while. But one of the first things I want to do is give this here a couple coats of paint, let that dry. Got to go do a couple other things, try to finish up a few things. You may see a blue wire hanging down behind me. I did finally get Ethernet run up into the loft where I shoot some of my videos. And I ran two cables, so I have a spare one, and I'm going to run that one down over next to the cabinets, over where my clamps are, so that if I want to set a laptop on that other table that sits above our shredder to use for anything I can, because we do not have wireless out here. Occasionally I can pick it up from the house, but that's rare. We do have wired Ethernet out here. We have a gigabit switch up here. We got a server out here. We got a lot of things out here, but not wireless, and I just don't have a desire to put wireless out here. So, time to get painting. Why am I using this color? Because this is what they call a mist tint. And if you go to your local home center or hardware store and go back into the paint section, they usually have what they call mist tints, which means somebody made a mistake or some customer wasn't happy with the color or wasn't what they wanted, or you never know what. So this is kind of a coffee with cream brown, and it's Pittsburgh Grand Distinction paint and primer in one, and this is kind of their high-end paint. And I'm using one of these disposable foam brushes because then when I get done I can just toss it. I don't have to clean a brush out. And I'll probably put 2 or 3 coats on here. I'm not even going to put it in another pan. I'm going to do it right out of the bucket. If you've never used this paint before, this is what I pretty much swear by for anything exterior. Some of the things that I do sell that are not related to the greenhouses and the nursery, etc. There's a lot of woodenware, particular beehive equipment, candy boards especially. And I always use this Pittsburgh Grand Distinction. It goes on good, it covers well. I've always been very happy with it. I've never had any negative feedback from any of the customers on anything we've sold. Finished with this. And if you're painting on a house or a shed or a garage or something, this is excellent paint for it. No, I'm not sponsored by Pittsburgh Paint at all. I just happen to like the quality of this, the way it goes on. Get some drips, whoops. So that's why I keep cardboard on top of my saw here when I'm doing this. Turn that so I don't get paint on my wheel. Foam brushes are not the ideal thing for this, but this is a quick job. I don't know that I necessarily need to fill the screw holes. I might. Okay, you don't need to watch me paint. I guess I could do a whole section and watch it paint dry, but yeah, everybody's heard that joke. So, be back after get everything set, ready, and dry. In case you've never seen a 1950 tow motor forklift, this is what one looks like. Of course, this is absolutely not OSHA approved because there's no roll cage on this at all. I've had this for probably 15 years. Picked it up from a guy on Craigslist. Had to do a little work on it, not a whole lot. New battery, we just tuned it up. Not a big one, but it's perfectly adequate for what we need to do. But as you can see here, I got the compressor out here and on that pallet. I need to take out some bolts and then get everything else ready. And here's its new home. I need to do a little cleanup in there too, get some of the junk sitting off the furnace, especially before we start using it. Of course, you see the water heater back in there, and then we have fertilizer tanks over here, and then we have a booster pump and some plumbing and water filters and mechanicals and cobwebs and all kinds of good stuff in there. So I need to do a little cleanup while I'm in there. So as you saw there, things don't always go exactly according to plan. My next activity is going to be putting this extended drain extended drain tank assembly on the bottom of the air compressor, so I don't have to reach up underneath there to drain the water out of it. This gives you about a foot stick out. It's got a little petcock valve on the end. You can then drain it into a bowl or on the ground or whatever you want to do. It'll make it a lot more convenient. It does come with a roll of Teflon tape, and the ends are already coated with pipe dope, so this should be pretty straightforward. I'm not going to video putting that on because I'd have to pretty much lay the camera on the ground, but it's pretty simple. You unscrew the old or the existing petcock and you screw this elbow on. Should be pretty simple. Then I'll get this thing moved inside. Okay, and here it sits in its new permanent home. Fits in there just perfect. Well, the next thing I gotta do is clean up that mess over there. But flat surface, gotta put something on it. Make sure the door shuts here. Should. Just like that. Of course, I broke the roller off on the top corner up here, but I got another one. Not a big deal. So, big improvement. 4 space, place for the wife's chair. Boy, I got that done just in the nick of time. It's raining out there now, so yeah, just made it. So somebody may have a question about, well, you know, isn't that dangerous? That's unstable, being on that platform and rolling around. That's not something I would do if it was going to be sitting out in the open, especially if you had kids around or something, where they could possibly, it would take a lot to knock it over, but you could theoretically knock it over. It being back there in that closet, and the wheels are locked on it, so of course I don't have a slope in here, so it's not going to like it's going to roll around on its own. But yeah, the wheels are locked. We don't have any children that would be in the shop here. We do have grandchildren and a great granddaughter, but if they come out to visit, I'm right there with them. The older grandkids, they don't want to be in the shop anyway. They don't even want to come out here. So don't need to worry about that. Don't need to worry about kids getting into it. But there again, yes, if that was going to be out in the open where it would be accessible for getting bumped into or run into by something, or you know, you got kids on their bikes and stuff, you know, yeah, then it needs to be bolted to the floor. That's the way it's designed. But because I didn't have the space in here, I did this. And it works fine. If I need to access the furnace or the water heater or the pump or something in there, I can easily unlock the wheels, roll it out, do what I need to do, roll it back in, and I'm good. So, got anything out of this little unique project? Appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. Of course, always looking for subscribers. Next to that subscribe button is a little bell. You ring that bell, you'll be notified when I post another video. Otherwise, I'm Roger in the shop. Hot. It's raining. Time for beer. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.